Hey guys, Hamsterwheel Gaming here with a new video, and welcome to episode 2 of Unusual Specs. Last time we checked out the Discipline Holy Priest, the Smite Priest, and it turned out to be not too bad. Well, is that the case with Feral DPS? That's right, today we're going to check out some cat form DPS. As always, I will first check out how much DPS I can pull with one of my own characters on the Phoenix server. That character, just like my priest, has gear that's on par with heroics, and after that I will move on to another server where I'll check out the DPS with tier 5 gear and see the difference and then make a verdict with the pros and cons of the spec. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my Feral Druid on the Phoenix server, the Archangel server. His name is Ashel, and you might have seen this character in Roots are OP 2 and a few dungeon runs. And I used to be balanced, and while I was balanced, I was actually gathering some feral gear so I could do this. And right now I have some decent gear. As you can see, it's a bunch of blues, and also a few epics, such as these ones. These are really nice. You know, just basically gear that is on par with heroics. Nothing too fancy, but still, you know, pretty reasonable. In cat form, I have 2.5k attack power and 32.4 crit chance. That's actually a lot of crit. Damn. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna see if I can actually do some decent DPS with this character. But before I enter a dungeon, I would just want to explain to you guys what the rotation would be should you spec as a feral cat DPS. So let's go. Alright, let's check it out. I'm going to show you the rotation right now. So first off, your opener will be Ravage. It will always be Ravage. And right after that you will keep up Mangle at all times to increase the bleed effects. And during the, then you will stack Shred until you have 5 combo points. Then you will use Rip to get the dot up. And after that, just basically keep Mangle and Rip up, and in between those two moves, you just use Shred to do some serious damage. So I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to open up with Ravage. I'm going to put on Fairy Fire. I'm going to put on Mangle. And there we go. Now as you can see, I'm running low on energy. And right now I'm going to explain power shifting. And I'm lagging. There we go. I'm going to keep Mangle up. So I'm going to wait until I have 0 energy. I'm going to switch back to normal mode and then back to cat form. The reason I'm doing that is because I have 5 points in Furor. So when I use an ability and I have 0 energy, I can use power shift and instantly get 40 energy. So that's really nice. So I'm going to use that. And as you can see, I'm just keeping Shred up. Got 5 combo points almost. I'm just going to use one more Mangle so I can keep the bleed effect up. Then use Rip. And then I'm going to use Shred, 0 energy, use Power Shift, and there we go. One thing to add, by the way, I tried to do this with a macro where you can basically shift in and out of cat form almost instantly. But it turns out if I use that, I will basically get stuck in cat form, and you will not be able to get out. Here's some footage of that. Yeah, that kind of sucks. So if you basically just do it kind of fast, but not too fast, you won't get stuck in cat form. Yeah, it kind of sucks, and I'm not sure if that's on every BC server. I tried it out on the Smolder Forge and the Phoenix server. It doesn't work there, but if you just do it slowly like this, it works, and you still have 40 energy right away. So that is the rotation that you'll have to follow should you go cat DPS. So yeah, there you go. And right now, I think we're ready to join a dungeon and see what kind of damage we can do. So, without further ado, let's queue up and start doing some damage. Alright, that was Feral Cat DPS. It's quite interesting to say the least. Now, we're almost at the end of the video, so just like my previous video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons, and then I will make my verdict. So I'm going to start off with the pros. Number one is the infinite DPS you can do. I mean, compared to a Moonkin, you're relying on energy and not on mana, and energy will keep filling up no matter what, and mana will eventually, you'll eventually run out of mana. So the ability to do DPS for as long as you want is definitely, a big plus in my book. So that's number one. Number two is a fun rotation. Let's be real here. Not only do I want my class to be fun, or not only do I want my class to be good at DPS, it also has to be fun and interesting. I mean, if you have a class and you want to go raid and your rotation only exists out of 2 spells, it will eventually become very boring and very spammy. And you know what? You don't want that. At least not in, that's not what I want. So the rotation for a Feral Cat DPS is very fun and very interesting because you have to pay attention to a lot of things. I mean, is my Mangle buff still going on? When can I power shift? Should I refresh Mangle right now? There's just so many things to take into consideration to the max amount of DPS. So it's definitely a very fun rotation. The third one is probably the ability to off tank. If you have talents such as thick hide and you have a fair bit of armor, you will be able to do some decent off tanking because you will stack agility as a Feral Cat DPS, and agility in bear form equals a lot of armor. So of course you won't be able to tank as good as a purpose-built bear tank, but you'll still be able to do some decent tanking. Should you have to do that in an emergency situation, so that's very nice. Alright, we're going to move on to the cons. I'm going to start off with no AoE ability. I mean, compared to a Moonkin, you won't be able to do any AoE damage in cat form, and that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, you will not be able to compete with a Moonkin that has Hurricane when it comes to an AoE situation. They just outshine you by far. So that's definitely something to take into consideration, that you won't be able to AoE as good as a Moonkin. So that's definitely a con. Number two is suboptimal compared to Boomkin. I've done several DPS tests with this cat form DPS spec and with balance spec with the same amount of gear, and I got a bigger amount of DPS when I was doing this as a Moonkin. So yeah, you will be doing less DPS as a Moonkin. It was still close, and as you saw in my video with the tier 5 gear, where I was trying out my DPS against the target dummy, I still got over 1k, and that's definitely not bad. But when I was a Moonkin, I still did a little bit better. So that's the DPS is suboptimal. The third one is quite a big one, the big one actually. And that is not being able to benefit from Wind Fury. I mean, any melee class, think about Retribution Paladins, Rogues, Fury Warriors, they can all benefit from Wind Fury, and that gives them a huge DPS boost. But a Feral Cat DPS cannot benefit from Wind Fury, and that will be a big dent in your DPS compared to the other melee classes. So yeah, that's definitely a con in my book. So those are the 3 cons, and those are the 3 pros. Now my final verdict about this spec. I think it's not bad. I mean, you saw my DPS with my druid with heroic gear. It was around 500 to 700, which is right in the ballpark of heroic dungeons. And the DPS with my tier 5 druid was a little bit disappointing during Quagmire in the last fight, but I practiced it on the target dummy and I got over 1k, which is not too bad at all. The only problem is that as a Feral Cat DPS, it's going to be really hard for you to start out raiding, because you're going to start out with Karazhan and Gruul's Lair and such, and it will be really hard for people to to invite you if you tell them you're a cat DPS and you're doing 500 to 700 DPS. They just don't want that. They want a Moonkin who can do more DPS, or another class that will do over 1k easily. So it's going to be really hard for you to gear up. But should you get that gear, And you know, if you've mastered the rotation, you can do some serious damage, and you're able to do that damage for an infinite amount of time. It is a pretty good spec, but it will be really hard for you to gear up. So that's pretty much my final verdict. It is pretty good, but it's hard to gear up. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think next time I'm going to be tackling the Arcane Frost Mage. See how that compares to a Fire Mage or other classes. But for now, I want to thank you all for watching. I'm Hamsterwheel Gaming, and have a good one.